76.
Hello and welcome along to episode 14 of the Tennis Asia podcast, and it's qualifying all the way this week as 128 men and 128 women vie for the remaining places in the 2024 US Open. And joining me as ever is a man who, unlike Jack Draper, always knows when he's got it up. Is Mr. Tennis Asia himself, Eddie McGee. Eddie, you will be New York bound yourself very soon.
Yes, exactly. I will be, today is Monday, I'm still in Seoul, but I will be arriving in New York on Wednesday morning. So I might actually be able to catch some of the US Open qualies, which we're obviously going to be talking about, which should be, the first time for me to actually attend a qualifying event at a major. I've been to the majors, some of them before. It's my first time at US Open is in New York, so it's going to be exciting, and I'm looking forward to the tennis as well.
And the stakes obviously are so high. Getting into the main draw of a Grand Slam can change your season. It can change your career in many instances. I really like to call the qualifiers for the slams the Grand Slam of the challengers, because that's kind of what it is. Let's get straight into it. Let's waste no more time. We'll go through the men's and then the women's, and we'll go from top to bottom of the draw. So it doesn't take us long. I know you sort of scolded me just before we came on air. I said, "Are we going through all the Kazakhstan players?" And you said, "Yes, of course we are. It's from Tennis Asia."
I mean,
there's so many of them, and we right. The first tie in it is Dmitry Pokpo. He's drawn the number one seed, actually, Thiago Tarante. Pokpo comes out having lost in the round of 16 in Santo Domingo last week. Tarante's world number 97.
So Dmitry Popko, obviously it's not ideal maybe to draw the top ranked, top seeded player in the draw. Having said that, Tarante has ever actually played in the US Open main draw himself. He is certainly more adept on clay, although he has had some success on the hard court. So from that perspective, I think that it is still a winnable match there for Popko. I just think that it's not too bad in terms of that first round, despite him drawing the first seed. But even if he does get through that one, it's probably looking like a second round tie against Diego Schwartzman, which is going to be difficult. And if he does get through to the final round, it also does look tricky because it's potentially going to play against Richard Gasquet, who's the other seed in that section, or the up and coming Lithuanian tennis player Vilius Gaubas, who just recently won, albeit on clay. He just recently won in Cordonon, Italy, the challenger title there, and having also reached two challenger finals before that this year. So certainly a player that's very much on the up. He's got talent. He's only 19 years of age. Of course, though, this is a different kind of surface. Perhaps it's one that's going to favour Richard Gasquet more, or even Dennis Kudla there as well, who's the American that Gasquet will face.
Gasquet faces in the first round, right?
So the word on the street, this has actually been said by the US tournament organisers themselves, that the court speed, they have like a pace rating, like official rating, a number basically, and that is 42, which is what the average of the courts at US Open at the moment is, which is on the quicker side, which is considered a medium fast court speed. So obviously being a hard court as well, that will favour certain players more than others. And in that first section, it's maybe going to favour someone like Gasquet, but who's used to that. That still leaves that section a little bit open, I think, with Popko having a chance. But if we move down further
Yeah, there's no, I think no Asian interest in the second little bracket, but into the third one, we come down to a tennis Asia bowl, and it is Bu Yunchaokete who is seeded 21. He faces Yasutaka Uchiyama. It's a Karatsev section, I think. Bu hasn't played since that topsy-turvy final against Jacob Fernley in Lincoln last week. Uchiyama not at all since the qualies for Washington. Bu, the higher ranked and surely the one to beat.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Uchiyama, he did well to win that title in Busan, but it was a little bit disappointing since then. All as good as that win was, certainly, yeah, he is someone that would, like these kind of conditions. But obviously, Bu, the way he's been playing, he's been having a brilliant summer. Yeah, he won that title, but he didn't win in Lincoln, but he did win in Granby. And yeah, so he reached the runner up. He was the runner up in Chicago, and then yeah, again in Lincoln. So very consistent form, and certainly kind of form on these hard courts that you would think would put him in a very good position to do well here. And actually drawing Uchiyama, who hasn't been so good of late, is a pretty good first round draw, I think. And then in the second round, it'd be either Borna Gojo or Nick Hart of the Dominican Republic. And I think, yeah, that's a pretty good, considering the way where Bu is at the moment, not a bad draw. It probably might come down to, him facing the third seed, Aslan Karatsev, in that final qualifying round. I wouldn't be surprised if those two seeds, because Bu is the 21st seed, and Aslan Karatsev is the third seed, if they actually met in that final qualifying round. So yeah, but I do think
that could be a target match for you when you're actually on the ground there. That'd be one to go to.
Yes, certainly that would be potentially some amazing hitting. Obviously, Karatsev, he can, when he's in form, he hits the ball so well and he's very aggressive. But Bu is a player that he can hit the ball pretty well himself these days, and he's got this athleticism that I think is going to make him very difficult to get past. So I actually do think he's got a great chance to do this and be the first player, to make his first US Open, which would be quite something.
Okay, nothing in the fourth section. In the fifth, which is Max Martira's section, the fifth seed, I did notice there is the Jordanian player Abdullah Shelbaer. He faces American wildcard Brandon Holt. Shelbaer, I think, is one of these US college products, University of Florida.
Yeah, and he's also come from the Rafa Nadal Academy. So Abdullah Shelby, I think from college as well. He was friendly with Ben Shelton as well. Oh, okay. So they know each other. But I can't say that results have made me too confident about his chances of getting through here. But what I would say is that it's not maybe the strongest section in terms of, I wouldn't say there's a clear standout that I would say that's going to get through. But obviously, he's drawn against Brandon Holt, who is the wild card there. But he's not a player that's been doing so bad this year, Brandon Holt, and obviously he's playing in America, so it's going to be difficult. And I think that we often see that the players will do well at home, the American players. So if you can get through that one, it's potentially Vic Kopriva, who is the seed in the next round. Kopriva is not a player that I would say is so good on this kind of surface. So perhaps he might not even get through because he'll play an American Mitchell Kruger. I think for Shelby, just if he can get through that first round, then I think he maybe has a little bit of a chance. But I'm not particularly confident in his chances. But moving down.
Yeah, a couple of Kazakh players in the next little bracket. Denis Yevseyev will play against the Ecuadorian Alvaro Gulen Meza, and of course Mikhail Kukushkin is in this little section of the draw as well. He's fresh out of the quarterfinals in Carey last week.
Yeah, so Kukushin is been doing pretty well recently. Of course, he's been on the tour for a very long time.
He's almost as old as me, so.
Yeah, well, he's 36 years of age. Yeah, yeah, and of course, he's a guy that's done pretty well in the slams in terms of, I mean, he was a top 50 player at one point, and he's been in the third round of the US Open numerous times, but he hasn't played in the main draw of a slam since Wimbledon 2022. Having said that, he's obviously got himself in some decent form. Opens against Marco Trungelliti. I think what will be difficult, I think he can get through that one. In the next round, though, he's got to play Alejandro Morocañas or Lee, two players that have had a pretty good year by their standards. Morocañas, been pretty good. And then Lee 2 actually hitting some form after not really starting the year so well. He went to the North American hard courts and got some good results. So tricky, but perhaps I think Kukushkin could actually get through this one. It's going to be interesting. Jesper de Jong is the other seed in that section. But yeah, as you said, Yevseyev as well, the other Kazakh. Interesting. Yevseyev, his main challenger success actually came in Kazakhstan. Funnily enough, yeah, he was the runner-up in Nursultan in 2022, and then he won the title in Astana in July last year. So, but yeah, obviously this is not Kazakhstan, but he came pretty close because he actually he got to the third round in qualies at Wimbledon. Right. So maybe he can go one step further. That would be a little bit of a surprise, I think, but it's not impossible. I do think it's one of those sections maybe where you get someone unexpected coming through, and then moving on. We've got some more Kazakhs.
It's not Kazakhstan, but it might as well be the Kazakh Open. Actually, is the next part of the draw. Billy Harris, I think, is the highest seeded player, but there is a couple of Kazakhstani players as well. Zhukayev has got Mark Andrea Hessler of Switzerland, and Timothy Skatov. He's drawn Bagnis, who's actually the 25th seed.
Yes, and it's interesting there because we've got Baby Zhukayev. He is Kazakh player that's born and bred Kazakh player. He talked about this. He's proud that he's the real Kazakh. He was a little article about him on the ATP website about this. But yeah, he's been doing not too bad in this last year and making his becoming settled on the Challenger Tour.
Okay.
But can he do that? Get to that next step of actually qualifying for a slam? I mean, the conditions are quick. He's almost 2 meters tall. He's 6 feet 5 inches, 196 centimeters. So, he got to the third round of qualification at Wimbledon. I think it's possible. I mean, he could actually do it this time, as I said, because the conditions are quick. That will benefit him. It's going to give you a chance if you've got a big serve. I mean, Billy Harris as well was in that section. The British player, he's been on the up. He's got a big serve as well. So some of these guys could do something here. For Skatov, it's going to be, I mean, he made the US Open last year, but Skatov has mostly been playing on clay this year.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know if he's going to be obviously drawn against Bagnis. I mean, in terms of on this surface, it's not such a bad draw for him, but I would maybe fancy if Zhukayev gets through to take either one of them out. So, if I was going to pick someone from Tennis Asia of interest from Tennis Asia, I would pick Zhukaev to get through. And then moving
Okay.
down.
Yeah, the last bracket in the top half of the draw, we have Sho Shimabukuro. He's got a tough one, actually. He's got the Carey Coleman Conqueror, and a guy whose name is going to come up plenty in the bottom half of the draw as well, in terms of recent performances against Asian players, Gabriel Diallo of Canada.
Yeah, so Diallo, another one who was at US College, University of Kentucky,
Right.
6 feet 8 inches tall. So he's a big guy as well. Another one that may be able to take advantage of conditions, but more importantly, has been in good form of late. Yeah, he won that Chicago Challenger title, defeating Bu Yunchaokete in the final. So for Sho Shimabukuro of Japan, it's going to be difficult. I mean, he'd actually did well last year because Sho actually he played both Wimbledon and the US Open, and that was really big for him to be able to get through and actually play in these slams. In terms of like his results recently, I'm not too confident in terms of where he is right now in terms of how he can do. But the amazing thing is about because he was up near getting near the top 100 last year, 130 or so, but he's slipped right down to 240 or so in the rankings. So yeah, his results haven't quite been there. Having said that, he did reach the final in Winnipeg in Canada in July, the Challenger final, and he lost to Benjamin Bonzi in the final. So, and he came pretty close at Wimbledon. He lost into the final qualifying round to Elias Ymer. So yeah, and I also do think he is someone that does kind of like these quicker conditions a bit, but obviously Diallo is maybe just been playing that little bit better. But it'll be interesting if he does get through. I mean, if he does, Terence Atman is also the seed there that he might face. So another guy has been doing pretty well as well. So it's difficult. I mean, yeah, I would probably fancy one of the players from that bottom side of the draw to get through. But qualities is always an unpredictable thing sometimes, and things can fall apart quickly. So
Okay. Into the second half of the draw, and we find, I think, nothing in the top bracket, but then in the second bracket, where Luca Van Asch is the seed, we've got Shintaro Chizuki, who lost, I think, to the aforementioned Diallo as well very recently. He plays Martin Dam Jr., son of the mid-90s top 100 loiterer.
Shintaro Mochizuki, a guy who has maybe struggled to sort of adapt because he was a top junior, very top junior. He won Grand Slam, I think he won Wimbledon juniors, but of course at the professional level, the challenger level, he isn't the biggest player, but he does skillful, and his finest moment actually came when he actually beat Taylor Fritz in his home tournament in the Japan Open, which was a top 10 win. He had actually his only challenger success this year came on the clay, but he hasn't actually played the US Open yet. Playing Martin Dam Jr. in the first round is perhaps not the easiest one because, Martin Dam, he is also a big player that, perhaps he could take advantage, but with Mochizuki, he's more mobile around the court, so he's still capable of maybe making life difficult for him. That's an interesting section because I think it's a little bit open in terms of who's going to get through. The two seeds, we've got Luca Van Asch and Roman Andres Burushaga, but perhaps Luca Van Asch can get through here, but not too sure about that section.
Okay. We then go quite a way down the draw. We have to skip past Fernley versus Jubb, which, intriguing as it is none of our business on tennis on Tennis Asia. I think the next one we find ourselves up with is Hong Seong-chan, who has got a pretty, on paper, a tough-looking tie with Joseph Kovalik, who's highly rated, has been highly rated, but hasn't won a match for, I think, more than a month. The Karlsruhe Challenger was the last time I think he won a match.
Yeah, right. So Hong himself, of course, has been in great form by his standards recently because he got that amazing victory against Karen Khachanov, and that was in the ATP 500 in Washington. So it was great for him even to qualify there. But yeah, to beat a player of that quality shows you the level that he's bringing this year has been pretty consistent. Although he hasn't actually won a challenger title, but he's had good results on that challenger level, and obviously making a good transition there to the main tour level. But yeah, for actually a great opening round, I would say, in terms of if you're going to draw a seed, yeah, you'd probably want someone like Joseph Kovalik, who hasn't won recently, but also is definitely more comfortable on surface like clay.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's actually pretty good draw for him.
It's an interesting bracket, that one, isn't it? Because also in there is Jason Sheng of Taiwan. Yeah. He was a recent finalist in San Marino. He's got an absolutely anything can happen draw with Benoit Paire.
Yeah, so there's interesting sections for those guys because, Benoit Paire, I mean, obviously, we maybe don't know what to expect from him. But Jason Sheng, though, he's been playing mostly on the clay. I mean, that's where he does get his best results. So he's been focusing on that, and you can't blame him because he's been moving up the rankings, getting close to that top 100. But with the way Paire is at the moment, I mean, at this latter stage of his career, I don't think it's too bad for a guy like Jason, who, he's a fast player himself. He runs around the court, and you can imagine that he will be getting a lot of balls back, and that's maybe going to frustrate Benoit, who is not the most patient player on the court. So I do think it's one there to be won. And then, for both players, because you're talking about Jason Sang and then also Hong being there, if they do get through, they potentially have to play. Sheng would have to play Krajinovic or Yuri Rodionov, but Krajinovic is coming in with the sort of working his way back after you having to use his protected ranking. He's had injury, and the same for Hong, who may have to play Tim van Rijthoven, the Dutch player, who is also using a protected ranking. So in terms of where they are at the moment, you would actually say that has actually maybe worked out quite nicely for both players, and it wouldn't surprise me that much if we saw Singh against Hong in that final round.
That was one you will need to attend. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, obviously we know Hong's first final year before the army, and this would be the first time for him to qualify for any major if he does do it. So that would be, that would just be amazing for him. And then we shouldn't also forget that the prize money in offer here is just way above even anything that they would get in challenger level just for these qualifications. Because if they do get to the third round, even just to the third round, they get $52,000. But just to get to the first round to qualify for the main draw, you get $100,000, even if you lose that first round match.
Right.
So, huge money in offer.
That'll pay for your coach for the next year. But the next, the penultimate bracket in the draw is where our interest ends. Coleman Wong is in that section. I think Xu Yu Shui of Taiwan is in it as well. Coleman was a victim of Gabriel Diallo in Kerry. He matches with 15th seeds Christian Garin.
Yeah, so this is interesting as well. I mean, as far as first round matches go, that's a pretty interesting one. Christian Garin is not an ideal first round, would you say? But obviously, Coleman has maybe hit form at the right time. That was just coming off a semi and then a runner-up in Lincoln in that challenger. So, and then obviously losing out to Jacob Fernley, who, was playing really well in that match. So yeah, but he has to get through fewer matches to qualify here. But yeah, potentially difficult one for to play Garin. But I think that Coleman could win this. I mean, a lot of the time here it comes down to motivation, and
Yeah.
certainly you would say, the stages of the career, Coleman is going to be perhaps a lot more pumped up to win
The
this.
hungrier. Yeah.
I mean, of course they do. I'm sure that Christian Gary also wants to win, but it's just it just maybe it's coming together at the right time for Wong. The hard courts like this is good for him, and a quicker one too. And potentially, he's going to play Shu of Taiwan in the second round. Who, after having a good run in Taiwan, kind of dropped off a little bit, but he has been playing tennis consistently. Even dropped down to the ITLF level though, and did well there though. Just to probably want to get the matches in. But yeah, Rudolf Molleker, who the German player who he's drawing against, I do think that's one that they can get through. With the Garin Coleman Wong match, I could see it going either way, but maybe I lean slightly Coleman because just of the way he's been recently. So, but I do think it's quite possible that we'll see the Hong Kong player against the Taiwanese player in that second round, and then that would be an interesting one. Perhaps Shu is a little bit more consistent player, but Coleman got the bigger weapons, so I think that could be another interesting one. But perhaps for Coleman, he's just playing at a higher level at the moment, and this might be his chance to get to the US Open and indeed a Slam for the first time. So one thing we should just mention quickly is that also we do have in the draw, although he's officially, I think, a German player on the ATP website, he does represent Lebanon, is the Benjamin Hassan. It's actually there as well, and he's drawn against Pierre-Hugues Herbert. Tricky draw for him though. He's been I think he's been playing in the clay this summer, and obviously he did okay at the Olympics as well. But Pierre-Hugues Herbert, that's a difficult first one. But then if he does get through, maybe he has to play Maxime Cressy. Of course, he plays surf and volley. This is potentially a difficult one for him. So, but he's been playing pretty good recently, so it wouldn't surprise me if he did manage to get through to the final round and actually qualify. But yeah, it's not something I'm massively confident about. But maybe we should move on to the ladies though.
Yeah, I was just going to, before we move on to the ladies, so who would you say are your top picks to make it all the way from the men's? Bu?
I think, looking at the draws, I would have to say Bu is the top one in terms of, I think definitely in terms of the way that the draw has gone. I really feel like he's in a good place at the moment, and he is my top pick, I would say. And if I was going to pick maybe a second one, just maybe based on the way the draw was, perhaps Hong, actually, because
that would be big.
That would be big, but definitely Bu's the top man there.
Bu and Hong, you heard it here first. Moving across to the women's, and it's episode 14. This is only the second time we're actually going to mention her, which is absolutely miraculous. And we actually have no justification for mentioning her at all. But Priscilla Hon is actually in the qualifiers. She's got I just saw her in the top bracket. There's no Asian interest in that though, so we're not going to talk about it. The first tie of interest to her, Sara Saito. This is in the, I think, the third or the fourth bracket. She's got Irina Shimanovic in the first round.
Yes, Sara Saito, who is, Japanese teenager. She's still only 17 years of age, but has been making waves on the ITF circuit. She recently just won a 100 title, but that was on the clay. But hey, before that, she had pretty good, consistent results on the hard courts as well. A lot of expectation from her. She did amazingly as a junior, and now she's stepping up to the pro circuit pretty comfortably. So I would say that as far as a first round goes, that's not a bad draw for her. So. yeah, maybe she has an opportunity to actually get through here, because then she's also drawn the first seed that she could face would be Maya Joint, who's the 32nd seed, so it
Right.
represents the lowest. Yeah, it is the lowest seed that she could have faced. So, yeah, could have been tougher. I would say though that she's also a youngster from Australia Joint, so and she's actually got to the final of WTA Challenger event recently. She
Mm.
lost to Alicia Park. So yeah, and it was also in the final of a clay ITF 100 and lost to Lulu Sun. So these are two talented players of just so young that they could meet though in that second round, and that would be interesting if Saito was managed, if she did get through to that final round, though she may have to play the number 3 seed Haley Baptiste. So it's quite a
Baptiste.
tough
Yeah.
run there for her. Obviously, an American and playing there, she have big support, so it would be a real test for her, and it would be quite something, I think. I mean, obviously she's got
Right.
the talent, but to get through that would be, difficult. But as I say, you never know what's going to happen. The draw might not work out like that. We'll see.
Right. The fourth seed in the qualifiers is Mei Hontama of Japan, and she has drawn Anastasia Tikhonova of one of those countries which must not be named.
Yeah, so Mai Hontama, yeah, fourth seed playing against Tikhonova of Russia. So Mai Hontama, obviously she's the fourth seed, and but she's never actually qualified for the US Open, and yeah, I'm not sure that she's been in such good form recently. She hasn't had the results that have stood out. I mean, she did really well, in the past to actually qualify. I remember she qualified for the first time for the slams, but yeah, her results over the summer don't leave me a lot to
Yeah.
be confident about. She's only won a handful of matches, and she hasn't been past a quarter final, and that one quarter final was in an ITF 50 event. So yeah, going to be difficult for her, and I'm not too hopeful. But I mean, we've got another Japanese player though in the next section though that
Podcast
is on the up.
favourite, yeah,
Yeah,
Shibahara. She's got the Ukrainian, I think.
yeah. Ina Shibahara of Japan. She will have to play. Katerina Zavatska of Ukraine. Yeah, so Shibahara's obviously on the up, and she has had some decent results. As far as the first round goes, yeah, that is one maybe that's not too bad for her, and I do think it is winnable. In terms of whether she can actually go all the way and qualify, well, I mean, in the next round it gets quite tough because you have to play Rebecca Masarova of Spain or Fran Jones,
Right.
who are very good players and players that have been, they've had experience at the quite high level as well. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult. But I think one step at a time for Shibahara. She has shown glimpses that she can do well. And yeah, it will be interesting to see. And I think the quicker surface is not too bad for her. So,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
But
The remainder of the top half of the draw, the only other Tennis Asia representative is Xinyu Gao of China. She's got Olga Danilovic from Serbia, who comes in as the 8th seed for qualifying. And she's in the in Bektas's little group, I think.
yeah, difficult first round for sure against Danilovic. And really, I'm not sure we can look past that. I mean, Danilovic, quite a strong player herself, physically big. She has been inside the top 100, and yet she has played these slams. Thing is, the last time she qualified for the US Open though was in 2021, and she went out in the first round of qualies the last 2 years.
Okay.
Certainly, though, as well, for Danilovic, she is a player that is much more adept on clay. So perhaps, I mean, Cao Jinyu can actually maybe give her a little bit of trouble, because, certainly for her, she's much more comfortable on this surface, and she did have some results. She won a 50K in Shenzhen in April, and then she won a 50K in Tunisia, both on the hard courts. So, sometimes it's about, Danilovic, okay, she's the better player on paper, but Gao Jinyu, she's coming up perhaps to, a good point in her career. So it's different points for both of them, and maybe that sort of, as we talk about motivation, that is something that can get her through. And if she does get through, she may have to play the youngster Victoria Jimenez Katsinseva. She's the one from Andorra, but she's still only 19 years of age. She's also looking to qualify for her first major. So potentially interesting matches. And then also the seed in there is Emina Bektas, who has been up consistently near in and around that top 100. So
tricky
and
little
also
way
British
through
player
there.
Sonny Cartel as well. She's pretty strong. So not the easiest section there, but I think we'll have to move on to the next.
Bottom half of the draw. The first one we come with, it's actually two Thai players in the draw, but a lady we've mentioned quite a lot on the podcast over the last few weeks is Lanlana Tararudi. She's drawn against the 11th seed Anne Lee in the first round.
Yeah, difficult first round, but obviously, being unseeded, that's going to happen. But I mean, Anne Lee, being American as well. I mean, it doesn't help when you have to place a local. She was a player though that was high as the top 50, and I mean, I haven't followed too close, but she's obviously had issues where she fell right down the rankings. But recently, she got some results and success on the clay actually this year. But she is a player who's also had good results on hard court. I mean, she won a WTA 250 that was one of the results that got her up to near those higher reaches of the rankings. So but as I say, like maybe Lanlana, obviously she hasn't qualified yet, and she is on the up. I think she likes this hard court. She's a little bit quicker, but it's gonna be difficult for her, I think. But I mean, if she can get through that one, and that's going to be difficult, then maybe things open up a little bit for her. She's got either Astra Sharma, the Australian, or Ruvroy in the second round, and then the seed in that section, the other seed, is the Latvian player Daya Semistaya. It's not going to be Semistaya. I was saying the name wrong here. Semistaya, but I think all about that first round match, and then maybe it opens up a bit. Certainly.
Okay. Moving down, just actually not too many more to go through here, but moving down, the next one is Zhao Xuan Bai, I think, or did I miss one?
I think we're a bit pressed for time, so maybe I'll run through some of these ones quickly. So in the 17th seed, we've got Bao Zhou Xuan, of China. She was, I did see some of her matches at Wimbledon. She failed to qualify for, or did she? Oh no, sorry, I'm getting wrong. She did play Wimbledon, she did. But she lost that opening round match. That's what it was,
She's got a wild card in the first round, so could have been a worse draw.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so Valerie Glozman and then Zhidanshek or Lipchenko. So it's not too bad in terms of from that perspective. But then going through, Alicia Parks is the seed in that section, potentially in the final round, which would be difficult. But moving on, and maybe talk about Nao Hibino.
the bracket of death is the next one, because it doesn't matter what Nao Habino does, because we know Jiang Sujung is qualifying out of this section.
Well, now Habino's drawn against the 14 seed Todoni of Romania, and then potentially, even if she does get through, that's a tough first round, but then she may have to play Linda Fruvertova or Mladenovic. Jiang Sejong, though, is drawn against Mona Bartel, the older player.
Veteran.
Not too bad for a first round. I mean, Jiang, definitely the Korean player, she likes these hard courts. That's where she performs best for sure. But even if she does get through that, and she might, Jiang, she will have to play either Sasha Vickery, 24th seed from America, or the player we've talked about a lot recently, Wei Sijia. Yeah, so Wei Sijia, obviously she's on the up. She got to the third qualies round in for the Australian Open that obviously failed to get through, but she just won that Lexington Challenger that was a 75k. So yeah, again, a player that's made waves up the rankings. And yeah, with Sasha Vickery, American 24 seed is a difficult draw. But hey, it's wouldn't be surprised me if she gets through, and if she does get through, then perhaps that's going to be an interesting match against Jiang in the second round. She'd also move on.
Got to be there for that one. Alex Eala, very quick. Alex Eala, she's got Medicine English.
Yeah, difficult draw, I would say, because I mean, obviously Ayala has been doing pretty well recently. She also won a title, but yeah, drawing against Madison Inglis, difficult for a non-seeded player to draw that, and then she may potentially is going to play the 15 seed Nuria Parisis Diaz. Also in that section,
they're in the same. Serena Diaz and Yejin Ma. Yes, it's quite a Tennis Asia bracket as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're definitely going to get at least one Tennis Asia player through to the second round there, because Diaz of Kazakhstan drawn against Ma Yexin of China. Yeah, so potentially, I know Ma Yexin, she's been quite active as well. So whether she can take out Serena Diaz, obviously Serena Diaz has, she's another player that's was out for a while and she's making a comeback here. So yeah, interesting to see how that goes. And then I think
final bracket is Xiaodi Yu is in it, and also Mananchaya Sawanko, the other Thai player.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but Sawankao drawn against Pigosi, the 26th seed from Brazil. Sawankao is from Thailand, is a young player, quite young. She's 22. She also finished runner-up recently to Wei Sijia at that challenger. So done pretty well. Had some results recently. I mean, for Yu Zhaodi, if she does get through, she might have to play the 16th seed Irina Rodionova in the second round. That's a player that's had some good results recently, and so she's been quite inexperienced at this level. So it'd be quite surprising if she was to get past second round if she does. But Sawankao, I'm not too sure if she'll have the chance. But I think in terms of a player that I'll be looking from the women's out of all these players to get through, well, that's a difficult question, but.
Yeah, I don't think any of them you've actually ended up being particularly confident about in all of this.
Yeah, but perhaps Sara Saito, the youngster, is the one that can do it, because, I mean, I think she has a reasonable chance of making it to that final round. So, and obviously once you're there, you've definitely got a chance. So, and yeah, I mean, just an up and coming player she is. So, I mean, I'd like to be surprised. I'm not particularly. Obviously, we've got that section with Nao Habino, Jiang Sejong, and Wei Sijia. Yeah. Perhaps one of them can get through. And obviously, Alex Eala.
3 in 8 chance. Yeah.
Alex Eala, she gets through that first round. Yeah, she's definitely going to have a chance. But it's difficult. I mean, I think, there's plenty of players in that final round that could take her out. But yeah, perhaps the Sara Saito to cause, a lot of trouble there and make it to our first.
We're heading down to the bookmakers. Actually, tomorrow morning will be too late. In the next couple of hours to get on a Bu and Sara Saito qualification double. When is your flight? Is it?
I'm actually off to Japan tomorrow, right. And then and then off to but just the one night, and then I'll be arriving in New York on Wednesday morning, which I think the second last day of qualies will be being played. So maybe I'll only have realistically be able to see the final day of qualies, but that would still be pretty fun.
That would
to
still
watch.
be that's still 32 matches with $100,000 riding on every single one of them. So
yeah. So
okay, thank you very much for joining me tonight. It's Bu and Saito from Eddie's End, and Eddie will be in New York. We'll speak to you in New York hopefully over the next few days.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks, Halter.
76, 76.